Hello everybody, Soul Supreme here, and I'm going to be bringing to you something a little bit different today. As you may know from the last episode, we are now entering our first crisis, and it seems like it's going to be a pretty major one. Here we go. The crisis is over Dutch Wallonie, and it's about the liberation of Belgium from the Netherlands, who had annexed them, I believe, in like the first or second episode. And unfortunately, it seems that it's going to be every great power on Earth, aside from me and France, against like each other, and this is going to be one interesting battle. So, as I just said, Belgium was annexed at the very beginning of this campaign by the Netherlands. They usually start out with a casus belli against Brussels, and sometimes they win the war, sometimes they lose, sometimes Belgium exists. This time they just couldn't muster up the right allies. So this is gonna be crazy. Let's see if I can open this. As I open up my relations menu, you can tell that everybody in the world, except for couple uncivilized states over here, because I pissed them off, in North German Federation, generally all the great powers love me. Like Western Europe and most of Central Europe likes me to some extent, which is reasoning why I wish I was asked to become the crisis leader for Belgium. Now, if we look at France, with all the other great powers aside from me, they're either indifferent to France, such as the Ottomans, or they outright hate them, such as Germany. Austria likes them a little bit, but not enough. Spain don't really like them, and UK is still in the negative for them, which is the reason why I'm guessing everybody decided to back the Netherlands. So you might be asking, so why am I bringing you an episode that's not really a complete episode to the series? Because I want to show you something a little bit interesting that I discovered in this game a while back. If you look over here to the side, you can see these two buttons, and this one is the battle plan editor. And what I'm going to do is zoom in, toggle the plan visibility, and here we go. Now, I kind of find this as a neat little feature because it'll help me explain some of my rationale behind this war, my early on moves, if this war actually happens. It could not fire at all, such as if France believes that, okay, if France goes like, okay, I have Russia on my team, but the Netherlands has Ottomans, Germany, Austria, and the UK on its side, their military power combined is going to be much higher than me and Russia, so they might just call for a white peace. That would be the best case scenario, because it will save me some time, money, and manpower from what is going to be nonetheless a very, very, very bloody war. So I created this little battle plan. We can switch between these two map modes, like terrain map mode. Make it look a little bit cleaner, but let's keep the political map mode on so we could get some details of what's going on. Alright, so my opening moves before the war will start will be to actually, if the war seems inevitable and once the crisis temperature reaches a certain point, a little button will appear. Oh wait, am I thinking that right? Oh no, this little bomb will turn red, showing that the temperature is getting high and the battle seems like it's about to be inevitable. And roughly around that time, what I'm going to begin to do is to start mobilization, so my men could, yes, appear in Grodno. Like the farmers will start collecting, and we can already begin, you know, having the extra manpower ready to go come the crisis. But this is like actually one of the unique times where I feel as though I'm actually need to mobilize out of necessity. Rarely in this game have I ever mobilized, such as like when I mobilized in the first war with Prussia earlier in the campaign. The reason I did that was because I was like slightly afraid of their military tech, and I was afraid that France may not be able to help me on time, and I didn't want like Prussia to crush like my Eastern armies, because if they did, they would be able to like just storm all the way to St. Petersburg, and that would have been a problem. So that was the reason why I mobilized. But here, I am going to be fighting a huge theater. As you can see, it's going to be from the Baltics all the way down to the Caspian Sea, because the Ottomans are no doubt going to join the Netherlands, and I am going to be I'm going to be the one that's taking the huge brunt, like the biggest brunt of this entire war. France only has one front open. Yes, France really only has like one front, and that's them pushing east into Germany. They're going to have to deal with the Netherlands, who they border, and Eastern North German Federation, which they also border. But at the same time, they're also going to have to deal with the UK. Now, for some of my starting moves, what I'm going to do is try to move the Black Sea Fleet all the way around back to the Baltics and try to have these two units near each other. Probably park it right up here in Lepja or Memo. Let's put it in Memo, so they'll be like right next to each other on the same panel. So what I'm going to have to do, and this is possibly the most crucial part of this entire war, is to get these two units, this fleet and this fleet, over here and park them in the Straits of Dover. Now, you might be wondering, why would I park them in the Straits of Dover? Well, the Straits of Dover, you can't tell, but from Canterbury to Dunkirk, British troops can cross from Canterbury to Dunkirk, even though it doesn't seem like it's possible, and like you can't tell. They actually can move their units from here to here and start spreading through northern France. Now, the dangerous part about this is if they get through Dunkirk, they could easily make their way to Paris, and that could cause some trouble for France. And I really need France on this effort right now. I need France to, as you can see here, as I marked out, France is going to have to, on its own, for the most part, take over Belgium. I believe this is all Belgium right here, and Belgium ends right up where Antwerp is. Yep. So they're going to have to take practically all of this territory on their own, so we can get the ticking war score and have, let's see if there's a war. Yes, if we get the ticking war score, such as for example, as you can see, the USA acquired they're occupying Nevada right now in their war with Mexico, and they're getting a ticking war score. And what the ticking war score does, it means as it ticks higher, this is, I believe this little pip is such as the war score of when Mexico will consider to surrender. So what we are going to need to do is get our war score to the point where I believe the Netherlands is the leader. Yep, Netherlands is going to want to surrender to us. And this is possibly could be a very short war. For example, if France, as I show here, if they push through Belgium and then go up through actual de jure Amsterdam of the Netherlands, they can take over the Netherlands right here. I marked this off as like a little special point. If they manage to take this, Netherlands, if they're still considered the war leader, which I don't think it shouldn't change, because this is their crisis and they're the ones that are the main leader. I believe they can't be like kicked out and replaced by the UK. And if that's the case, the Netherlands will be in a situation where they'll be willing to surrender much quicker, and this war won't last as long, and that'll be a great thing. Now my units here, as you can see, the green ships, these will be mine. The blue ships, I put them here because France will do any which way, like do anything with them. For example, France could go around possibly attacking the British fleet, but the British fleet probably might destroy France's fleet, and I really don't want them to destroy my fleet, so I may be trying to like dodge them by moving out of here and back in here, you know, keep them like busy, distracting them. This fleet, the reason I have this fleet here, if possible, will be to prevent the UK when they're mobilizing or getting any established armies from Ireland over here, because right here is an invisible strait from Belfast to Glasgow. There's an invisible strait where they could cross and start sending troops over like the little strait here over the Irish Sea and down to London. What I'm hoping for is, if France is smart enough, they'll be going after the war goal and possibly, if need be, trying to deal with London at the same time by pushing from Dunkirk to Canterbury, take over London. And what I'm hoping for is France to do a huge push like I've seen in other games to at least this point around basically half of the British Isles. If they get to at least Manchester and hold it here, or, you know, if they get to Manchester, the Brits will be without a huge amount of their manpower they could call upon on a mobilization, which will help us out, make them like not have as many troops come and, you know, do a counter, which is why I'm hoping France may do the smart thing and take them out, which means I can move like these units from the Straits of Dover and Dogger Bank back to the Baltic Sea. And I want to have a unit right here. And the reason I want to have a unit right here is because one fear I may have is North Germany, since they have Denmark in their sphere and their ally, and same thing, oh, I guess Sweden. Well, since Sweden will probably, like, you know, honor a call from the North German Federation since they're allied with them in a war, and I believe they're friends, yep, they got good relations with each other. So what I'm afraid might happen is Germany may ask Denmark for military access, and then they'll ask Sweden for military access, and then they'll try to come over through, basically get me from northern Russia up here, like where Finland is. They'll come around through here, up here, and then like start sieging everything and then get into St. Petersburg, and I don't want that to happen. So my opening moves in this war will be to no doubt crush these two armies right here, because these aren't mobilized armies, I can like tell, because they're standing armies. And what I would like have to do is like similar to what I've done in the war with Prussia. Crush these two armies right here, which will open up their entire eastern flank. Like, it'll give me a temporary opening, and what I'm gonna do is siege, like get this entire flank under my control as quickly as possible and try to push the sieges all the way to Berlin. Once I get to Berlin, my main objective is to take over most of northern Germany and try to like push south. Once I get to, where is it? Dresden right here. You can't really see it because it blends in with the background. But once I get to Dresden, Germany will be effectively cut in half. And what I'll hope for is for France to swoop up over through the Netherlands and take over the western half of Germany, which will, you know, take a lot of pressure off me, and they could deal with like the mobilized units over here much quicker. So I believe Germany, out of all the states possibly in this war, will be the biggest threat to me. Once I take this unit to Berlin, take over like this area, Germany will probably be more or less a moot point, because they'll lose a majority of their manpower. They'll lose some crucial states with, I believe coal should be over here somewhere. Here, like coal. They'll lose some coal states. They'll lose like the high pops of like Brandenburg and Pommern and Westprofen. And from there, what I want to do is have some of these units like on the lower flank head south into Austria, which is right here. And I want them to reach Vienna, take Vienna, crush them, and you know, decapitate Austria pretty much. Austria isn't as big as a threat as North German Federation, though they do boast sizable population. Their military tech shouldn't be that much higher than mine. See if I can pop this up real quick. Okay, actually their military tech is, they're 2 techs higher than me, but as you can see, their brigades, their number of brigades is 21, whereas mine is 81. So let's see, what's Germany's? Germany has 70 active brigades, and what I'm thinking is, if I remember this number correctly, these are the brigade like total count. So this is 30 brigades and 33. If I destroy these 2 units, that would mean Germany loses roughly, I believe, 90% of their entire force, and the rest will have to be mobilized. And I believe they may have like another force, like probably on Berlin or somewhere on Western Germany. But if I crush these 2 units, that will save me a lot of time with Germany, and I can just push in and take Berlin, hold Berlin, and wait for some French relief. Because if I destroy these 2 armies, France could easily just roll in and deal with these units. So let's see, what is the Netherlands looking like? 28 brigades. So Netherlands, this one stack that's guarding France could easily deal with the Netherlands if played correctly. This other stack could, like, no doubt handle them like effectively, like completely, so they can't like do any effective counters. The London brigades, I can't tell where they're at. They're most likely, like, you know, they have a stack on London somewhere, but the whole worry I have about them is the mobilization. Now on here it says the UK has 133 brigades. Now that may seem like they have like an overwhelming force, especially compared to me, but here's the like thing with that. Not all the units, not all of their brigades are in the British Isles. They have brigades, like they have some here, like they're usually along the border with British Canada. We can't see them because we're not really allied with America, but I guarantee you they have units like across this border. They will have some, I believe, in Australia. Not that many, like the majority of their units will probably be like here in British India somewhere, like probably in central India or even southern India. And the rest will be like in somewhere like South Africa or one of their smaller African colonies. Their units are mostly spread out. The whole thing, like I said, I'm worried about is their mobilization. If they get a big mobilized force and say France half-ass like tries to cross over Canterbury and take over like these territories, what will happen is, if France isn't prepared or if France does too many dumb things at once, the British units will come in, kill all the French troops over here. Like the French troops won't be able to escape. They'll probably run into battle after battle until they get completely wiped out, and that'll cause like a dip in France's manpower, and that'll lead to the UK invading France, which is not good. Not good from any perspective, because if they get through here, they can like release some of these sieges or like force France to a surrender. Now if they force France to like a white peace or a surrender where I don't lose anything in particular, I'll be happy with that, especially if Germany tries to take, because I'm almost certain Germany, if they start gaining the upper hand in the war, they're gonna ask for this territory back because they have a core on it, and you know, it'll be like righteous for them to take it back or something like that. But this is why I'm hoping for it. Take Berlin, take Vienna, raise the enemy war exhaustion up, make their people not want to be in the war, because once war exhaustion and like their military gets slaughtered, what's going to happen is rebel units are going to start spawning all over the place, which is going to be more hassle on them and some hassle on me, especially if they start trying to like take back sieges that I've taken. But those rebels could help us by distracting the units, or if they say like if France can't reach over here in time and rebels units spawn in Bremen and Stad or Hamburg, what will happen is the rebels will siege these provinces down, and Germany won't be able to mobilize from here or gain any production or resources because they don't have the occupation. Like, it's like under enemy occupation pretty much, so they won't be able to get those goods, money, and all that from the state. Now here is the most interesting part of this whole conflict. I have a boat here. Yes, we're gonna have a boat in Lvov dropping units off. So this line, which I drew here, is a possible necessity. What I'm gonna need is, hopefully when my mobilized units get done, they could come in, sweep in through like Eastern Austria and push towards like from Lvov all the way to Siska and take over this coast. And once they take over the Austrian coast, such as from Venice to Kotor, we could like cut off the Austrian Navy. Their Navy won't be able to like dock up. So if any other naval units are around, such as France or whatnot, they can take pot shots at them and destroy the Austrian Navy. So here's the front, which I believe I'm going to be taking the most punishment from. The reason I'm saying this is because this is my direct border with the Ottoman Empire, who is no doubt going to join the Netherlands side, because as we just saw, they're allied with the UK, and since the UK is backing the Netherlands, this gives the Ottomans a lot more reason to join the Netherlands. As you can see, because of the added war goal, we already have a negative penalty, even though the added war goal is something that is justifiable. People hate us. The political justification or considerations is, you know, the relations, like relation-wise, who's going to be on the team. But anyway, the Ottoman Navy is pretty... It's actually smaller than I thought it was going to be. Usually, like, from what I could remember, is usually they will have like upwards over 100 ships now. But they have 23 brigades. We are one military tech ahead of them, and they have 50 ships. I no doubt believe the Ottomans are going to probably try to set up like some naval units around the Crimean Sea. If not, they probably might send them all the way like through the Mediterranean up the coast through France to me over here. But I'm pretty sure they'll stay in this little area for the most part, because what I believe the Ottomans are going to do, they're going to push from up here, try to siege these territories down, like siege like Ukraine and Crimea down, while the other ones are going to go through Georgia and come up to here through Rostov. Now, here's the good part about this. Even if they do come through here, they're going to like go through these territories. Now, as you can see, my most populous territories are up here. Like, these are the most populous places in Russia. These places over here are somewhat populous, but they're not as like heavily populated as these areas. Now, what's the good thing about that is the Ottomans, these territories are going to be worth less than the heavily populated territories like up here in Kiev, Moscow, things of this nature. And while they're pushing forward up through here, no doubt they're going to be probably suffering from heavy attrition. And the Ottomans, if they really want to put the hurting on me, are going to have to travel to St. Petersburg. Now, as you can tell from up here, from down here, that's a long way, and they're going to have to siege, like, nonetheless. They're going to siege because the AI is going to do that. They're going to try to siege as many provinces as they can, trying to get their way to St. Petersburg, all the while suffering from losses. What I'm hoping for is, as I stated, my mobilized units, if I get some extra mobilized units ready, I'll hope for them to come over here and deal with like the Ottoman units one by one, taking them apart. Because once the Ottoman brigades are gone, the Ottoman Empire, even though they have some pretty populous states, they don't have like that many, and my states are nonetheless going to be like way more populous than theirs. Because I will have the manpower to support this, they won't. So when they're mobilized, all I will have to do is crush their main armies and then start killing off their mobilized units one by one. As I'm doing that, I could easily start like, you know, taking back some of these provinces and pushing down, like pushing them back essentially and making sure they can't like siege any more of these provinces. They're going to be suffering a hell of a lot of attrition over here along the mountainsides of like Azerbaijan and Georgia. But that has to be a good thing because that means they're going to be bleeding units heavily. So once I get some units down here, I want to get them to like go in, push through like Macedonia. From Macedonia, I wanted to push through Rumelia and then get to like Constantinople or Istanbul. Once they get through here, if they don't have a ship here, I believe this is another straight crossing. And I believe if they have a ship here, we can't cross. I'm not 100% sure, but that may be the case. If that's the case, we can easily just go around. But if we could push through, to this line and not necessarily have to go any farther, because as you can see, once we get over here, it's pretty much empty desert. Like not that many pops, and most of the units they'll probably raise from over here will probably come to counter us from over here on this front, or they may try to go in and push through Russia down here through Georgia. But I'm pretty sure once I get here, if I decide to, just to make sure they can't like be a threat, I'll push forward and conquer the remaining states from like, you know, Aleppo, Damascus, and Kuwait, making sure they can't be effective military force anymore. So this can be a very quick war, and that is the main thing I'm hoping for. If I can push to Berlin and France can push, like, you know, take from Brussels and hop over to Amsterdam and then loop over and, you know, meet me around here, around Magdeburg, that will pretty much destroy the main war leader, the main opposing war leader, I mean. We will destroy the most powerful threat of Central Europe. We will weaken the Austrian nation even more. And we could possibly just wreck the Ottoman Empire if all goes to plan. This mostly comes down to the British response. And if I manage to block them, and France sends over units, like they send over units quick enough and in enough number to quickly like occupy UK, I believe they'll be able to call for a separate peace. Could they call for a separate peace, or does a certain period of time has to pass? I can't properly recall if during these regular crisis wars you can call for separate peace, or you have to wait until the Great Wars, which are active later on in the game. But this is all my rationale and my overall strategy for the coming conflict. Now, as I stated before, this conflict may not happen. This crisis may fizzle out. Like within 54 days, war will break out. But if, say, these two units, the North Germans and Ottomans, decide to say, yes, we're back in the Netherlands, and France is scared, I mean, they have me, but if they're scared enough, they're gonna just probably call for white peace, which is what the Netherlands will want for them. And this crisis may like fire later, or we may get something in the Caucasus, or this is the Caucasus. This is, what's this area called? What's this? No, this isn't the Caucasus. I can't remember what this area is called. Wait. I'm gonna call it the Bulgarian area, but usually around here, crises fire off, especially around Macedonia, and Thessalia. Greece will usually, you know, trigger those crises, or we'll get some in Africa, which will probably be the case once the colonization race picks up. But yes, this is like my whole rationale between these moves, why I, my initial move sets, and why I'm gonna like try to destroy as much of the North German army as I can, and why I'm gonna be, planning my moves. This is just, I like this feature because this feature could give accurate details on list plays where I could just, before a conflict occurs, I could show some details, things of my early plans, just so people get an idea of what I'm trying to accomplish in this war and what I'm trying to do. And I'm hoping that this war turns out well. Though, looking at my plans, I'm certain that they will come out extremely well, especially if France, like, you know, smart enough and everything goes according to plan. But as we all know, plans don't always come together, and plans can easily fall apart due to like one issue or another. So with that said, I can't wait to see you in the next episode, where we will continue this campaign and see how this crisis eventually turns out. So I hope to see you guys all again in the next episode. This is Solo Supreme, and you know, hope you enjoy another video on Solo Supreme Gamer. Goodbye, everybody.